Number one, nobody's happy in China. Everybody unhappy, but they cannot express their feelings.
Okay, so generally speaking, the Chinese became rich, but they are still unhappy.
They didn't become rich. And this entire gigantic hospital have only one toilet.
So would you like to say that it's rather show than economy?
Yes, of course. The face is most important. Not a chance. United States is not that easy to collapse.
Hello, in today's talk we are meeting Li Schoolland. Hello, Li.
Hi, Yang.
I would like to talk to you because you are native Chinese.
Yes.
You survived the communist regime, and you see how China is changing nowadays. And so my main concern and my main subject I would like to talk to you is about. There is a lot of people in Poland who likes the way how China is changing. They are saying that the government is very wise, that the government has find a very good solution how to improve the country and how to make people happy. And I know that you have a slightly different attitude to this. So what do you think about the present situation in China?
Number one, nobody's happy in China. Everybody unhappy, but they cannot express their feelings, their true feelings. Some people pretend to be happy. Most people just keep silent. They don't think and talk about it. So the situation improvement is very subjective, because it's only changing to please the government and the leader. It's not for the aim of improve everybody's standard of life or to provide value to the society. So, of course, China had changed from 1979 when China opened up and started a reform. But mostly with the people after they received unlimited freedom from the government, because the government took all the freedoms and property and liberty away from people since 1949. And 1979, and the government relaxed some of the control and allowed people to have some personal freedom, excuse me, economic freedom. And then most people walk out of poverty with their own feet. So the government had no plan for economic reform. People found their way with the limited freedom in order to survive, in order to be not hungry anymore.
Okay, but so it was, I can see that the way of changes was quite similar to Poland, because Poland also gave a lot of freedom as far as economical development is concerned. Everybody could establish his own enterprise, and we profited of this. Was it the same in China?
No.
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 So how was it?
I don't know about Poland, but China, all the banks still owned by the government, all the land, all owned by the government, so no property rights. And also China had no rule of law. So whoever has ways to cheat, to bribe, can get what they want. And people without connection, without a way to bribe or cheat, and they remain on the bottom of the society. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to start a small business, for example, a coffee shop, the only resource is your own money, your relatives, your friends' money. You cannot get a loan from the bank. The bank only gives loans to the government projects or government favored projects or their friends and relatives. So that's not the true economic freedom. Chinese Communist government saw the power of market, so they benefit the most. So China is a state capitalist country. All the important and big industries and businesses is all in government ownership. It's more than 62% of Chinese economy is owned by the government, local or central government. And so for entrepreneurs, very difficult to succeed. Alibaba did, and a few others, Huawei did, but without cooperative with government, they wouldn't be where they are today. And also they have to give shares, more than 50%, to the government. Jack Ma already left Alibaba because he doesn't need that anymore. He doesn't want to be that anymore. And so Huawei have to cooperate with the government, use the technology for surveillance and for other government agenda. So there's not really true great successful business stories in China.
It's a little bit the situation as in Russia, that if you want to make a business, you have to have permission from government, and you are dependent on this permission.
Yes, the permission is not easy to get, or very easy to some people if you know somebody who's having the stamp, and or you have money or ways to pay, to bribe. Or for ordinary citizens, it's not easy at all. And also the government policy changes all the time. When they need you, they encourage you. For example, at the beginning, 1979, and for maybe 5 to 10 years, the sidewalk business was encouraged because before that, all stores owned by the government. So in order for some people to make a living, they have to sell things what they can get into their hands on the street. Either their things in their house, mostly it was the factory they work for and couldn't give them salary, and they have to bring the product to the street to sell. So sidewalk economy was flourishing, and that also really enriched a lot of people. At the beginning was other people who had no other opportunities, like prisoners and gangsters or the bottom of the society. That's the only way they can survive, so they started. And other people saw how benefit they were and how rich they became, and they started to join. But soon the government felt they're out of control because they want to control everything. The sidewalk business they couldn't control, so they eliminated, outlawed. Overnight, they outlawed. So people start to build a little storefront on the apartment building on the ground floor. That was allowed for a while. And now in Beijing and the big cities, those are forced, and the government just demolished those stores and forced those people to leave because all those stores owned by the migrant workers. And they couldn't get a job in Beijing without the document. They couldn't really get a good job. So they have to just open a small restaurants or small mom and pop stores. And they were surviving, and now it's eliminated. So in China, you can't really be an entrepreneur and think about, I'm going to build a wealth for my children, for my grandchildren. I can buy a house and keep it well for my children and grandchildren. There's no such a way of thinking in China. Everybody's focusing today, I can make as much as I can, so a lot of people cheat and sell terrible products because reputation is not important. Longevity for business is not important. Making money today is more important. It's not because those people are deceitful, it's because the system, the government policy, force them to do that. No property right, you're leasing the land for your apartment. The longest is 76 years, and the shortest is only 25 years. You cannot even live your own life, entire life in that property, the apartment. So that's very different. I don't think Poland is that way.
Okay, so in Poland we are seeing that the government of China is investing a lot in infrastructure, telecommunication, and in order to develop the country. And you say in order to control the people.
Yes.
Yes. What is their far long-term strategy?
The technology, the 5G and facial recognition, all these IT are for civilians. Infrastructure is for show. The highway, yes, highways, subways, high-speed trains. So much are wasted, and also it's more than 60% is depend on the subsidy. They cannot make a profit to run on their own. I have friends working in those departments. She couldn't believe how much these high-speed rails and subways were subsidized by the government. And a lot of highways built to nowhere. And so, because it's a planned economy, the people who plan is not responsible for the outcome or return of investment. And for a while, in the 1980s and early 2000s, China was a GDP-driven society. Every mayor, every governor given a quota for GDP growth. So the GDP growth is just numbers, it's not wealth creation. I met these mayors. They each have a 4-year term. When they became a mayor, they first will build the roads, needed or not, and they will make sure the road will only last for 4 years, because next Mayor Kim, if your road is too good, they will lose opportunities. So they will make sure the roads and infrastructures only last for 4 years, and then the next mayor come in will have a way to fulfill his GDP quota. And they only care about above the road, because that's when the upper level leaders come, drive around, will see, oh, how beautiful. You have flowers, you have lights, you have statues, you have structures, and you get praised. You get promoted. Nobody cares about the sewage system. So every time a heavy rain, not big long-term rain, it just few hour heavy rain, all the major cities became lakes. Subway became waterfalls. Shanghai, Beijing. One time we were there just for 3 hours, a big rain, at dinner time. The whole city became lakes, and the roads collapsed, became a hole, and swallowed cars and people in there. I was so surprised, because I've seen rain for weeks and nowhere near that kind of disaster. Then I asked, that's how I learned the GDP-driven governance style. Now it's not anymore, because they have made their GDP impressive already. Now their focus is called internal stability. They have, China has the larger budget for internal stability than their national defense budget. Of course, much larger than their educational budget, because they are so afraid of people, because the people are so unhappy. So they have thousands and thousands of people work as a job as monitoring every posting, every phone conversation, every article, every writings. That's their main focus now.
Okay, so generally speaking, the Chinese became rich, but they are still unhappy.
They didn't become rich. When 1979, the 18 families who started all these so-called reform, only objective is get out of starvation. Prior to that, that village had 60 people died of starvation. So they were at the end of their options. So these 18 families decided, we are going to divide this land to our families, and we will decide what to grow. And they signed a contract within themselves with blood. They bit their fingers and signed, said, okay, we know this is against government regulations and against the law, but we just have to do it. We keep quiet. When the government find out, if we're in trouble, we're putting in prison, we're executed, other families have to swear we'll take care of this family, their children, until their land, and take care of their children until they're 18 years old. Their only objective is step out of poverty. Today, these 18 families, none of them are rich. Only thing happened to them is they are no longer hungry. And the government, they became a showpiece and they become a tourist attraction. And the government built museums and things, but nobody went there to visit, so they have no income from that. And the government start to telling them, okay, I think it's too hard to manage. Your 18 family have your own land to till. I think it's better for the government to take it back. And so we can manage better. Just from that. So no, they didn't become rich. A lot of people walk out of poverty on their own. China has a lot of people. So you might see a lot of Chinese came to Poland, came to buy and buy and buy, especially amber. They love amber. But they're a very small number of Chinese people. And a lot of them still live in a very primitive situation, no air conditioning and a small two-room apartment, but they have some spending money. They can travel, usually, especially the mandate retire age for women is 50, for men is 55. When the people are still very young, they were forced to retire because they don't have enough job for the young people because there's no free market. So job market is so regulated. So most people, young people, have a hard time to find a job. So they force people to retire to vacant position. So these retired people, they usually get government pension. It's a lot of time more than they work for. And so they have money to spend. They go out of China to tour, to buy things. And they look very rich because they want to show off with their brand name bags and the brand name clothes, but they may only have one set of, one jacket, one shirt. They wear it every day. You think they are wearing something very expensive, but that's all they have, but they want to show off. And you go to their house, you'll be so surprised, wow, that's how you live? You know, so it's different.
So different. And so China is building a lot of new buildings, making factories. The world knows that you can build a building within 19 hours. You can build, you know, the whole hospital within 3 days.
Yeah.
It shows that Chinese economy is so strong?
No, building the hospital within, I don't know, 14 days or whatever, that's true because they had enough people to build. They have enough equipment. But outside was built. Inside, this is not a hospital. It's a gigantic and empty warehouses. And also the most important things for the world to know is You only saw footage of people, the COVID patient went into that hospital. You have never seen any footage, anybody left, came out. That tells you something. Nobody came out. And now, this time, when Shanghai built these so-called hospital again, they didn't block people from taking photos, videos, TikTok, and post it. A lot of people were shipped there and was not completed the construction. They were sitting in the buses for a day or two to wait for the construction to complete. And this entire gigantic hospital have only one toilet.
Oh.
There's stretchers, no bed. Just stretchers or chairs for thousands of people living, sleeping side by side.
So would you like to say that it's rather show than economy?
Yes, of course. The face is most important. And also, the economy was designed and commanded. 20 years ago, the focus was housing. Before that, it was infrastructures. Now it's high tech. For a period of time, it's housing. A lot of people with connections get the permission to use the land to develop. And they built a lot of houses. But when the people, they spent 1/3 of their budget to bribe the government. And so the value of the house already is not true market value. And before they build, they pre-sell to their relatives and connections for a very low price. So they get the government loan, they get the pre-sale, they're already very rich, the developers. So they build it, they don't really care about the quality. When they finish building it, they walk away because they already made the money. And the owners of these units start to resell at the market price a lot higher, and the people who really need houses went to buy. Some could afford, some couldn't afford, but the developers didn't care who lived there, so there's no service around. No shops, no hospital, no theater, no school, no nothing. So the people went to live there, they couldn't, no place to shop, no place to send their children to school. They moved away. So all these empty buildings, they're not, no owner, just no occupancy. So Chinese economy, I think 27% of Chinese economy are those housings. And 25% of all Chinese housings are unoccupied. They call it ghost city because it's a planned economy. About 7 years ago, Xi Jinping decided we need to urbanize China. So we move people out of countryside so we don't need to solve poverty issue. We just move them away. So he said we need to urbanize. And the people, entrepreneurs, they still work for the government, they're state capitalism. They don't look at the market. They try to guess what Xi Jinping wants. And they will start building cities. I have a friend who told me, Li, I have an exciting project. We're building a medical city. I said, what do you mean by medical city? Oh, we will collect all the Chinese herbalists, hospitals, retirement homes to this city we build. I said, who's going to live there? Oh, all the herbalists and doctors and nurses and patients. I said, are you kidding me? What about their children? Where do they go to school? Where do they shop? Is there going to be theater? No, we don't care. We just want to, one hand, preserve Chinese traditional medicine. Number two, match Xi Jinping's direction. We get a lot of loan from the bank because this is a correct direction. So 3 years later, I asked him, are you still building the city? They said, yes. I said, do you think anybody will want to move there? We don't know. what about your return of investments? You get a loan from the government. They say, well, the loan didn't leave the country. It's from one government's hand, the bank, to another government's hand, us. So the money is still in the family. We don't care. So that's how China developed. Another cousin of mine, he's a famous musician. He told me he was hired as a consultant for the art city. I said, what does the art city do? Oh, we built studios, theaters for artists, musicians. I said, why do you think artists and musicians want to live together? Oh, it's for their convenience. I said, artists are very individualist. I don't think they want to live together. Oh no, the government said when we build, they will come. And he was so proud he get paid a lot. And he met another cousin of mine who's an architect. They were so happy and start chatting what we were going to build. And none of them today, I don't think the project either finished or successful. We visited a city called the high-tech city in Shenyang. And our friend owns a data bank company. It's a private company, very big, impressive. We visited, but 90% of this entire high-tech city were empty. And we said, why? They said, oh, but nobody wants to move here because it's inconvenient. And he thought the rent was cheap, and he ran it. The next year, I asked him, I said, oh, come join us, and he said, I couldn't find him. Other investor told me he was in hiding, running for his life. I said, why? Because the business need to develop. He couldn't get a loan from the government, so they use underground money lenders. Those are extremely high interest money lenders. Mm-hmm. They calculate the interest by day, and he couldn't pay back right away, so snowballed to something he no longer can pay. And the government, this time the government came after him, want to put him in prison for money laundering or whatever. And he has to close his business. He's in hiding. His very big data collecting company was closed. And that's one of the few still remain in that high-tech city is gone also. That's the fate of entrepreneurship in China economy. And today, what I just heard, people are being, after the lockdown, the farmers were not allowed even to go to their fields to work because they're in order to stay home. They say, in the fields, I'm the only one. I'm negative. No, the order is stay home. So the land was not tilled, harvest was not collected, no market to sell their produce. So some people tried their way to the city, tried to find work. And this lady who got to the city and was forced to put into a housing for non-document migrants. And in that housing, she got COVID. So she was positive for a week. Now on her ID, she's positive. Every single job, the first requirement is you never was positive. Even if once you're positive, you cannot find a job anymore in China now today. It's so sad. And they have nowhere to go, nowhere to live. They live in train stations, they live in the telephone booths. That's today. And the government, the premier came out to say, let's open up the sidewalk again, because they have no way. They just say, well, find your way to survive. Opened up the sidewalk. That's all a big government. You think the biggest economy can do? That's their solution right now.
Yeah. How do you see the future of China? Because we in Europe, we are afraid that there would be a collapse of the United States, and China will take place of the world leader and became the world leader. How do you see this?
Not a chance. United States is not that easy to collapse. It had such a rich history of democracy, freedom, entrepreneurship, innovation. It will go down, but never going to collapse. China, Xi Jinping in these 3 years destroyed all the wealth accumulated for the country, not the people. The country became quite wealthy. All the wealth accumulated in the past 40 years, he single-handed destroyed it in these 3 years. Not just these 3 years, through One Belt, One Road initiative, he dumped all these no-return investments in Africa countries, in Asia countries like Nepal, and collapsed economy in Sri Lanka, and more country within the One Belt, One Road initiative, their economy will collapse because of Chinese evil intent, and also drained Chinese government's wealth. And with this, all the supply chains, all the productions during the zero COVID policy, he destroyed Chinese economy. The people who used to be active entrepreneurs, now only thing they can think of is run. In China today, is the most popular word is run, R-U-N. Anybody who have ways, run. And they will leave with talent, with their wealth. And with this new policy, like I said, if you ever was positive, you can't even have a job. This labor force is in fact affected. Our friend Ken's student, who used to own a company with several hundred people, he produced stem cell supplements for many medical use, cosmetics use, whatever, big company, successful. He ran, of course, came to Hawaii and visited us just last week. We asked him, how many people did you fire? He said 400. Everybody's firing, nobody's producing. And Chinese economy is at the verge of collapse. They have some reserves, a lot of foreign currencies, but it's not going to last very long. So I think with the collapsing of Chinese economy, the Communist Party will collapse. That's my hope. And when the Chinese Communist Party collapses, people will immediately find their way to walk out of the bad economic situation. That I'm not worried about. So I'm just hoping Chinese Communist Party will collapse very soon.
Okay. So thank you very much for this interesting conversation and this prophecy of yours. Thank you very much once more.
Yeah, you're welcome.